Hi, this is Erin Lundy. I am a physical therapist with Milestone Therapy Inc. and I live in the Charlotte, North Carolina branch. And I want to talk to parents today about hip dysplasia because I have a ton of babies that have it and I have a ton of teenagers that I work with that have it. And so I think that's something that we need to talk about. So basically what it is your hip joint. So imagine that this is your hip and this is your leg bone, your femur. It's going to sit in this socket really nicely if it's really nice and secure. However, sometimes if it's more shallow, it can pop out and it can cause clicking and clunking and it can be painful. A lot of people also say they notice that their legs, their toes point outwards, and it's because of how the position of the hip is set. And it can affect people even later in life. Even, I've heard of people that are in their 50s and 60s having to get hip replacements because they wish that they had addressed this earlier. So let's talk about it. Using my demo doll here, I'm going to show you what your physical therapist might be doing in order to examine your child's hips. So with them laying in their back, your therapist is going to be holding and stabilizing with their hand, and they're going to basically be doing a sweeping motion where they push back and pull out, and then they're going to come back the other way, and they're going to do this whole little maneuver here. This is called the Barlow and the Ortolani test, and what they're feeling for: clicking, popping, clunking, and different things like that, and also to see if the child's uncomfortable. It's a nice little screening tool that can help give a potential referral, and then that way they can also go get an x-ray if you're really concerned about it. There are 3 positions that can really help the hip actually pop out of joint more. So I'm going to show you what they are so you know how to help your child avoid them. First off is flexing their hip past 90 degrees, like up really high, and then rotating their toes out so they're out to the side, and then also coming across. And so basically what it looks like is this position. But if you imagine your child in a W sitting, and that's like what we're going to talk about too, that's the optimal way to actually pop it out of joint. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of it, giving your child good hip health, and I'll show you some tools for how to stretch and strengthen and do all those different things. So let's say that your kid is a W sitter, meaning when they're sitting down, their legs look like a W from the aerial view. So one of the reasons why that's necessarily indicated is because this is another perfect way that they can pop their hip out of joint, especially if their joints are nice and loosey-goosey. So a couple different things that we can do if you catch your child sitting like this. And I don't like having a bad association, like have the child feel badly for doing it, because it does give them more stability when they're sitting down like this. But what I was doing is like, hey, can you fix your sitting, please? And then I said, crisscross applesauce. And then we'll have them sit like this with their legs out in front. Another way you can address their sitting is by having activities and toys up high. So I've got a little book up here. So you would have your child sit rather than a W kneeling down here. They'd have to pop their bottom up, which would be called tall kneeling, and they can play on an elevated surface with their toys. And it's a really great strengthener for their backside muscles, which are crucial to trying to, again, maintain a lot of hip stability and control. 3 stretches that I would recommend that are really integral to trying to help promote a ton of hip health and reducing risk of your child's hip dislocating or subluxing more is, first of all, you want to do a hamstring stretch. So back against the wall, feet straight, toes up, and even just sitting here without me even reaching forward, I can feel a perfect stretch down my hamstrings. Now, granted, mine are very tight, so that is something to consider too. But if their toes are up, that means it's an increased stretch. You can also stretch their heel cord by having them stand against the wall and have their foot up against the wall and holding it here with their heel cord being stretched back here. Now, 3rd stretch that I'd recommend is helping your child's hips try to avoid movements like this, and you want to have them stretch this way. So a lot of times you can have them sit, and it's called a figure 4 stretch. You cross one leg over and you can hold it here, and you can feel a really good stretch on the side of their hips that help control that motion, so that way it forces them a little bit more into that natural motion rather than trying to pull it away, which can increase your risk for dislocating your hip. Well, I hope that this was instructional, and if you have any more questions today, I have another video that I've made talking about joint hypermobility, so that provides a little bit more detail, kind of going in about like why is your child's joint a little bit more loosey-goosey. But anyway, if you have any questions, please post them in the comments, and I hope that this was helpful. Thanks.